broadcasting this meeting live on the internet and making an official recording. The recording forms part of the public record of the meeting and will be available on the Council's website. Can members please ensure mobile phones are turned off and that background noise is kept to a minimum? To help everyone hear clearly, members are asked to remain seated and to speak clearly into the microphones. Throughout this meeting, the Vice Chairperson will keep a list of members intending to speak during the debates. The Vice Chairperson will call the next speaker during debates and will announce your microphone number on the desk before you. When you are called to speak, I believe everything's okay now. Live stream working, please? The live stream is working. Thank you. So the Vice Chairperson will call the next speaker during the debates and will announce your microphone number on the desk before you. When you are called to speak, please raise your microphone number to be announced. This will ensure your microphone will be turned on. I should also remind everyone that filming, photography and recording of this meeting is permitted, provided that it does not disrupt the business of the meeting. If there are any members of the public who do not wish to be filmed or photographed, and you have not already informed a member of staff, please raise your hand now so that any such photographer or cameraman may be aware. At this meeting, there are a number of appointments to be made. Where there are multiple nominations to a position, I will allow a 1-minute statement in support of a candidate by the proposer only. Where appointments to the committee chairpersons and vice chairpersons are not contested, these will be agreed in accordance with the recommendation in Appendix 1 to the committee appointments report. A 1-minute acceptance speech will only be allowed for the appointed leader and chairperson of the council. Contributions to the meeting will be timed in accordance with the time limits for debates. When your time is up, you will hear an alarm. Please finish the sentence you are on and stop speaking. Thank you. Item 1, election of chairperson. We are here to elect a chairperson of the council, and I call for nominations to the office of chairperson of the council. Councillor James, 08. Number 8.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of days ago, I was reading the website of a certain company based in Herefordshire, of an international company, and it actually, in introducing its chairman and founder, it said, "Our eccentric chairman." And for some reason, my mind slipped to the chairman of the council, Councillor Bowen, which I often think is we've got several eccentric members in this council, and my dear friend Sebastian is one of them. I have great pleasure in proposing Councillor Bowen as the chairman of this council. He's been chairman at probably the most difficult time for this council, to operate with all the technological difficulties that we have, both today and in previous meetings, has tested the patience of most of us, I think. But he's done it with good humour and has been a thoroughly decent and pleasant representative of this council to the outside world within the county and further afield. So I have great pleasure, having known him, I think, longer than anybody else in this room, to propose Councillor Bowen, Sebastian Bowen. Incidentally, when he first got elected, one of our members, this is the previous council, for 2 years thought he was Sir Bastian Bowen, and told all her friends that we'd got a new councillor called Sir Bastian. But anyway, so I have great pleasure in proposing Councillor Sir Bastian Bowen.
Thank you very much, Councillor James. Appreciate it. Councillor Matthews.
Second, that's all, Chairman.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like members, I think you will all agree, Councillor Bowen has carried out his duties as chairman of this council with great dignity and dedication during the past few years. He is highly respected throughout the county and further afield. I've attended a number of meetings, including one last weekend with the Lord Lieutenant, and he always represents this council in a manner which we could be proud. I have great pleasure in seconding his proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Matthews. I think I better retire now, sans chain, and see what you all think about it. It's a slightly dicey walk down to the scaffold.
Slowly.
I have to retire, so the chair, the vice chairperson is your commander.
Councillor Sebastian Bowen has been nominated. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Slightly preemptive. Any other nominations? Thank you very much. Councillor Sebastian Bowen has been nominated to the role of chairperson. Please can members vote? All in favour?
It's a clear majority. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, 34.
No.
34 in favour.
34 in favour.
Yeah, so we'll invite
So Councillor Sebastian can come back into the room.
Don't do the opposite. It's a clear majority. There's no point counting anybody against. It's a clear majority. It's 34 in favour.
I can declare that Councillor Sebastian Bowen is elected chairperson of the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's
Yes,
my
don't
seat.
put your chain on.
I have to. Oops. I feel a bit like Napoleon here, crowning himself in Notre Dame. But thank you very much for your confidence, and I will do my utmost to retain and deserve that confidence, and to be your chairman, to give you fair and just leadership all the time as your chairman. And it is a great privilege, and I have very much enjoyed being your ambassador in so many ways to the outside world and inside Herefordshire itself as well. And I will rely upon your good humour and good company for the next year. Thank you very much indeed.
Chairman, if you could make the statutory declaration.
Yes,
Yes, thank you.
I, Councillor Sebastian Bowen, having been elected to the office of Chairperson of Herefordshire Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. And now I have to sign this too, don't I?
You do.
Let's see.
Chief Executive, if you could witness it, please.
Thank you. By the way, the date that Councillor James and I met was in 1994. It does go back a bit, doesn't it? That was in the days of Leominster District Council, and Councillor James was the very first to speak to me when I became elected, and I much appreciated that. I didn't realise how important he was at the time, but I was much appreciated his kind words.
Move on to the next item.
Yep.
Vice Chairman.
Item 2, appointment of Vice Chairperson. And I call for nominations to the office of Vice Chairperson of the Council. And I would like to propose from the Chair, Councillor Guthrie. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lester. I very much hope that you will endorse my proposal for Councillor Guthrie, who's been an extremely kind, helpful and able Vice Chairperson. And we much appreciate your presence here, and I hope you'll carry on doing your admirable duties. Thank you. Councillor Lester, do you wish to say anything? Yes. Item number 1 for Councillor Lester.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. A great pleasure for me to propose Councillor Guthrie as Vice Chair of this Council, a very long-serving member of this Council, dedicated throughout, and I know she's a great help to you. So it's with great pleasure that I am able to second Councillor Guthrie to continue her great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations? No? So, all in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Therefore, Councillor Guthrie, you are elected to the office of Vice Chairperson of this Council. Well done. Now your declaration of office.
I, Councillor Kima Guthrie, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairperson of Herefordshire Council, declare that I will take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it, according to the best of my judgment and ability. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone very much. I'm delighted to be reappointed to this role. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. I look forward to your able assistance at all times.
Thank you, Chairman.
Item 3. Oh, Councillor Davis.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've just heard from some members of the public the audio is really quiet for people who are viewing at home.
Right. IT people, can you cope with that, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Davis. That's a useful addition. Apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillors Graham Jones and Simons, and also from Councillor Johnson and Councillor Hewitt. Are there any other apologies? Yes, Councillor. I'm sorry to hear that. So Councillor Toynbee also in our apologies for absence. Yes?
Councillor Simon.
Councillor, I did mention him.
Councillor Simons.
Yes, I've mentioned him already.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
Sorry,
Somebody
sorry.
told me you hadn't.
No, I had.
Yes,
So
you had
my
it.
voice is a little bit croaky
Yep.
today. Do apologise. I'll bring this a bit closer. Item 4, declarations of interest. The next item is to receive any declarations of interest by members in respect of items on this agenda. Following a request from myself as chairperson, a dispensation has been granted under agenda item 8, appointments to committees, and agenda item 10, councillor allowances scheme. The solicitor to the council will outline the dispensation in greater detail when we reach that item. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Thank you very much. Item 5, minutes at pages 9 to 16 and supplement published on 17th of May. To approve and sign the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 4th of March 2022 and the extraordinary meeting on the 13th of May 2022. Members, please find the minutes of the ordinary meeting of 4th of March from page 9 and the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the Council published as a supplement of the 17th of May. Please can you confirm you are in agreement with the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 4th of March? All in favour? Councillor Graham Jones. Paul Andrews, sorry. Graham Jones is away. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I wasn't on the meeting on the 4th. but I was on the extraordinary meeting on the 19th, so I'm going to abstain for the 4th.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, we have your abstention then. Any other abstentions? No, thank you. Please, can you confirm you are in agreement with the minutes of the extraordinary meeting on the 13th of May? All in favour? Against? Any abstentions? We have, can we record those abstentions, please? Yes, yes, that's all right. That's understood. There's nothing wrong with that at all. No, we very much understood. And I believe it was a world record time for a council meeting. I think the Guinness Book of Records should be informed. I think basically all those in the room are present and correct. All those outside are abstentions. It's fine. Do you have any problems?
No, it's absolutely fine. Carry on.
Good.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's just the way things happen, I'm afraid. Item 6, Chairperson's and Chief Executive's announcements, and they are set out in the agenda papers on page 17. I have one or two additions to make to it too. As you can see, I've been quite busy. I have to say, the Cadet Awards ceremony was very impressive, and the cadets from both the Army, Air Force and the Navy were extremely well turned out, made very good speeches, and were models of behaviour in every way, and are great examples of what the cadet service can do for you, I believe. And you may know the Lord Lieutenant chooses usually 4 cadets to accompany him on special occasions, and that is always a pleasure to see them there. And we had also, well, as you can see, regular citizenship ceremonies, which are very impressive, much valued by those who take part, and we all feel very strongly that we are impressed by their zeal, determination, and their enthusiasm to be British citizens, and particularly come to Herefordshire to be British citizens. It's wonderful, I think. We also had the High Sheriff Declaration. We now have Sarah Derone, who is doing a splendid job, just like her predecessor, and turns up at every possible opportunity and is really taking her role upon her very thoroughly. We also had yesterday, well, no, it was not yesterday, on Monday, we had the funeral of former Councillor Glenda Powell, who served 12 years in office on this council. And I also attended upon the Duke of Kent when he visited the new housing for veterans at Northern Mews in Leominster. And that was very well received by all and sundry, I believe. And he seemed to be in good form too. And with respect and in reverence for the former Councillor Powell, and may I just say a few words also about the special events I want to talk about. You may remember that this is the 40th anniversary of the Falklands War, and now we remember all British servicemen and civilians that served in the task force, particularly those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Our thoughts are with the bereaved families of the 255 men who died during the conflict, and the impact to our county of Herefordshire was significant. 28 of those killed had roots in Herefordshire, and HMS Antelope, the adopted warship of Hereford City, was sunk. So it did have a major impact here, locally, and we would like to particularly remember the men of the regiment who gave their lives so gallantly. And I would like you now, please, to stand for 1 minute silence in reverence and respect for former Councillor Glenda Powell and all those who fell in the Falklands War. And there will be a much fuller press release going out today on that subject as well, both from myself and from Councillor Durkin. But thank you. Chief Executive, have you some announcements you'd like to make?
Chairman, just one from me this morning to follow up on my report. I just wanted to take the opportunity to recognise the work and commitment of Paul Smith, who's been the Acting Director of Adults and Communities for the last 12 months. This will be Paul's last full council meeting before he leaves the authority on the 17th of June. I think it's right just to take a moment to recognise the work and commitment that Paul has given to the council over the years he's been with us. The last 12 months have been a particularly difficult period for the director that he's led and managed, but he's done that beautifully, calmly, and led the department well during that particular period. So there will be an opportunity to say thank you nearer the time, but quite rightly I thought it would be appropriate for members to recognise the work that Paul has done this morning. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Chief Executive. A well-deserved tribute, I think. Thank you. Item 7, election of Leader of the Council. And I call for nominations for the post of Leader of the Council. And I'm happy to... Yes? Thank you. And do you have a seconder? Councillor Chance. Do you wish to make any statement at all?
I shall make a brief statement. I just think that David has led us over the last 3 years in very difficult circumstances with his charm, his intelligence, his humanity, and I think he's the person to lead us to this final year. We thank his work. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we will now go to the any other nominations? No other nominations? All in favour of...
Yes,
I think you should, probably.
Yes, because you're entitled to an allowance. So
Yes, you are. Yeah. Don't fall over, please. Right.
Okay. Chairman, we need to ask for paddle numbers.
Paddle numbers, yes. Can you make sure you give your... I actually have been doing that for you a bit, but can you give your paddle numbers loud and clear so the team behind me can make sure you are audible? Now, all those in favour of Councillor Hitchener to remain as Leader of the Council? What's happened?
it looks like it's a majority.
I think it could be, yes. Again, anyone, any against? Should do the formalities. And any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you.
Okay.
In that case, Councillor Hitchener is declared and voted for as Leader of the Council for the ensuing year. Thank you. Councillor Hitchener, you may return. I think you have to... Did you make a declaration?
No,
No declaration.
acceptance speech there.
Acceptance speech? 1 minute.
Yes, well, I had about 5 minutes down here. But I was standing out there thinking, well, I could actually keep going, couldn't I?
Here's another exit there.
But I say that in jest. It is truly an honour to be given this opportunity once again, and I will do my best to discharge your trust in me in the best way I can. This year has seen the recruitment of 4 new direct reports to the Chief Executive. Having the right people at the top of an organisation is fundamental to its success and sets the appropriate culture for the organisation. I commend the Director of People, Tracy Sampson, and her team for recruiting an excellent new top team. Thank you, Tracy, for achieving this in such a difficult recruitment market. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank the Section 151 officer, Andrew Lovegrove, and all in the Council for delivering a financial result which is shown as an underspend. This coming year will not be without its challenges. We must continue our focus on the Children's Directorate's improvement, the recovery from COVID, finding solutions to the high levels of phosphates in our rivers, and dealing with whatever else is thrown at us. I'd draw your attention to the recent inflation figures, which are going to be a challenge for us. Our delivery plan was presented to Cabinet on the 31st of March and set out in some detail not only our achievements in the last year, but our plans for the next. We intend coming forward with plans to improve the resilience of the county by developing plans for an Eastern River crossing, a city master plan, active travel measures, and our continued response to the climate and ecological emergency. We will be applying for funds from the Levelling Up Fund for Model Farm in Ross, and if successful, will enable that long-promised development to take place. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank members of the Cabinet who have worked incredibly hard during this year. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to thank our Chief Executive, who has managed to be able to deal with whatever is thrown at him. And haven't we sent some curved balls in his direction? Paul, the County and Council is very grateful that you joined us and are able to keep such a positive demeanour. I look forward to working with you over the next year, and who knows, maybe after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for your tribute to our Chief Executive as well. May he carry on the good work. Item 8, appointments to council committees and outside bodies. Supplement published on the 17th of May. To make appointments to the committees of the council and outside bodies in line with the rules of political proportionality. Members will find the report concerning appointments to council committees in the supplement published on the 17th of May and the correction supplement published this morning, which replaces the table in paragraph 11. I will take a vote on each of the recommendations in the report separately. Please note that recommendation E requires a nem-con vote. In other words, there must be no, well, if you vote against it, anyone votes against it, matters change altogether. Following the vote on recommendation E, we will turn to the appointment of committee chairpersons and vice chairpersons. In a change to previous arrangements at the annual council meeting, recommended appointments to committee chairpersons and vice chairpersons are contained in Appendix 1 to the report. I will put Appendix 1 to the vote to appoint those members recommended for the posts of committee chairpersons and vice chairpersons. If there are any alternative nominations to those members recommended in Appendix 1, you will be able to propose your nominees when we consider recommendation F, and contested positions will be voted on separately. Once recommendation F has been agreed, there will be a short pause to allow for proportionality calculations to take place for the Scrutiny Management Board. The completed table in Appendix 2 to the report will be tabled, and recommendation G will be put to the vote. I now call upon the Solicitor to the Council to outline the dispensation granted in respect of Schedule 1 interests and the circumstances when a specific interest should be declared. Solicitor to the Council.
Thank you, Chairman. Any member nominated for a chairperson or vice chairperson appointment has been granted a dispensation for this item. As a result, you may participate in the discussion and vote on all of the recommendations, although please refrain from voting on your own nomination. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Solicitor. The recommendations, I won't read them all out. You can do that yourselves, I think. But recommendation A, to vote on, all those in favour. Any against? Any abstentions? No abstentions, none against. That is carried. I should actually have had a seconder for those. Sorry? Yes. Recommendation B, I will propose that from the chair. Please, can I have a seconder? Anyone seconding that? Thank you, Councillor Shaw. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, that is carried. Again, I'll propose recommendation C. Councillor Phillips? Howells, rather, sorry. Sorry, you haven't had them.
Actual proposition is, please.
Right, I can do that.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen. On the screens now. Can you all see them? Do you need a telescope, binoculars? Or do you still want me to read them out? Right, well, can I propose recommendation C, Councillor? You would like recommendation C? The allocation of seats on outside bodies to political groups as set out at paragraph 13 be approved. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That is carried. Now come to recommendation D, which I would like to propose, and it goes: the appointment of 5 co-opted members of Children and Young People Scrutiny Committee to be approved as follows. 1 representative as nominated by the Diocese of Hereford, 1 representative as nominated by the Archdiocese of Cardiff, 1 parent governor as elected from the primary school sector, 1 parent governor as elected by the secondary school sector, and 1 parent governor as elected by the special school sector. I need a seconder. Councillor Summers, you have a question? Question away. Number 24, please.
Are these being checked out thoroughly? Because we're asked to vote on some of these and we don't know who they are. So there is an issue, especially with children and all the trouble we've had in the past, that we're selecting or asked to vote for individuals that we don't know. And we don't know if there's been a case, if there's been a DBS check or etc. So we really need this information brought forward, please. Thank you.
Solicitor.
Chairman, you're voting for the positions at this point, not the person, but any particular individuals that are appointed, then obviously all the required checks would always be made.
I know what we're voting for at the present time, but I'm still concerned that we're asked to vote for individuals at one time without knowing background. So it is something that I think we need to be looking at in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kenyon, 25?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't agree at all. I'm very happy to second this. I think the people that will be chosen will be of the top quality and calibre. So I'm happy to second this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor James. Number 8.
Well, I was going to say the same. This is nominations from specific bodies. We don't have control who they nominate. And, you know, to be perfectly frank, they're all honourable organisations. And, you know, it's a bit of an insult to suggest that they might be putting on people who are inappropriate because they have to go through the checks in order to serve. So.
Thank you, Councillor. So I have that seconded, and all in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Thank you. That is carried. And now I propose recommendation E, and I will read it out to you. The suspension of the rules of proportionality in respect of the Standards Panel, the River Lough Drainage Board, and the Wye Valley AONB Joint Advisory Committee be approved. And I'm proposing that recommendation, and please can I have a seconder? I remind members this is a NEM-CON vote. Councillor Harrington, thank you. Can all those in favour show, please? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? You can abstain if you wish to, but thank you very much indeed. That NEM-CON vote is achieved. Right. Now, before we vote on the table of committees containing recommended chairpersons and vice chairpersons, please can members propose and second any alternative nominees to those members listed. In an update to the table of recommended chairpersons and vice chairpersons, please note Councillor Ginman is recommended as Vice Chairman of Health, Care and Wellbeing Scrutiny, and Councillor Paul Rowan as Vice Chairman of the Planning and Regulatory Committee, with Councillor Paul Andrews remaining as the recommended chairperson of the licensing subgroup. So, I hope my recommendation, my proposal will be seconded. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Summers, thank you. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Can we note the abstentions, please?
Yeah, noted.
It's carried?
Yes.
That motion is carried. Right. That's it, isn't it? For those? G? Sorry, G. Item G. The size and allocation of seats on the Scrutiny Management Board be agreed. We have number 02, Councillor Gandhi.
Thank you. Looking at the, the previous slide that was on here, I'm not a mathematician, but I don't believe it is correct.
We will be adjourning for 5 minutes now.
No, it's just the figures are not correct. That's what I'm saying. That if this is being broadcast to the public, the slide is incorrect.
We will adjourn for 5 minutes and try and sort this matter out, and also the size and allocation of seats on the Scrutiny Management Board. 5 minutes adjournment. Thank you.
It's incorrect.
Right. Thank you. Members will see on the screen the proposed table of seats on the Scrutiny and Management Board. Before we go to that, though...
It's taken down now. It's been taken
It's
down.
been taken
but
down.
You just can explain what
Right.
Councillor Gandy...
Right. Now, the query that Councillor Gandy made, and I can confirm that the mathematics was slightly askew, and the clerk takes full responsibility, and he will do public humiliation if required. But I don't think he should be. He's a jolly good clerk. A very slight... His mathematics, I'm sure, are better than mine. So give him grace, please. But the allocation of seats to political groups is correct, and the decision taken under recommendation B stands. I trust that will satisfy you all. Councillor Kenyon. Number 25?
I might miss the point here, and I must admit I don't read every bit of information that comes through this computer, especially the spam. But these new committees that have been brought about, I don't really know a lot about them. And I was asked when I came in would I want to go on a committee, but the Environment Sustainability Scrutiny Committee, what does it actually do? What's its remit? Is that somewhere I can read up on? Because to me it looks like... Cool, fantastic, send it me, because it looks like it's struggling to get enough members to go on it.
Yeah. Councillor Kenyon, thank you for your point, but it will be explained to you after the meeting by officers who will tell you exactly what's required, and I'm sure that'll help. Councillor James. Number 8.
Can I just say, on behalf of all of us, and some of us who had to come to a meeting earlier in the morning, and all the work that Mr. Evans, Matthew, has done a sterling job in dealing with...
Yeah. I would endorse him entirely.
In solving an impossible problem. Thank you.
Yes, right. So the live stream is on, and members will see on screen the proposed table of seats on the Scrutiny Management Board. I trust you can all see that and understand it. And then I will propose recommendation G. Yes, I want a seconder. Who will second this motion? Or this proposal, sorry, not a motion. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor. And all those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you very much. That is carried. That is a serious piece of work, so thank you very much indeed. We come to item 9, rethinking governance. To approve amendments to the Council's Constitution, 2022. Please find the report from page 21 in the agenda pack. Councillor Bilderson, as the Vice Chairperson of the Audit and Governance Committee and Chairperson of the Rethinking Governance Working Group, as the proposer, will move and introduce the report, and she has 5 minutes. Councillor Bilderson, all yours. Number 1, please.
Thank you, Chair. Back at full council meeting in March, I presented the bulk of the Rethinking Governance Working Group recommendations, and today this report outlines some of the outstanding constitutional changes recommended by the working group, primarily around the terms of reference for the Audit and Governance Committee. Similar to the work undertaken to review the scrutiny committees, the Rethinking Governance Working Group undertook an effectiveness review of the Audit and Governance Committee. The basis of this review was the published guidance by the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accounting, or CIPFA. This guidance is considered best practice throughout the UK in relation to the function and operation of audit committees in local authorities. 3 core areas were assessed: the committee purpose and governance, its functions, and its structure and effectiveness. In addition, the Audit and Governance Committee's terms of reference were compared to CIPFA's suggested terms of reference for audit committees in local authorities. The recommendations resulting from this review that impact the Constitution are now outlined for your approval today. So the key changes that you will find in your papers include the alignment of the Audit and Governance Committee's constitution to current practice and sit for best practice. So, for example, the committee review and agree the Internal Audit Charter and the Internal Audit Plan. However, this was not specifically outlined within our constitution. There's clarity around the use of an independent expert to help strengthen the committee's skill sets. There's strengthening of the functions addressing partnership and collaboration arrangements, activities overseeing value for money or best value, and counter fraud and corruption arrangements. And there's an insertion of a clause to review any dispensations which have been granted by the monitoring officer at the next available meeting of the committee. All local authorities are required to make arrangements for the scrutiny of Treasury management, and according to the Sit for Best Practice guidance, an audit committee can support its authority by undertaking a wider role in reviewing and monitoring Treasury management arrangements. At Herefordshire Council, scrutiny of Treasury management is currently undertaken by Cabinet, with any reports then going to full Council. The working group compared current practice to the advantages and disadvantages of having scrutiny or the Audit and Governance Committee undertaking a wider role in reviewing and monitoring Treasury management. We also looked to see what our comparative councils were doing, and 11 out of 16 councils did not include oversight of Treasury management within their Audit Committee's terms of reference. Treasury management is a specialist area, so it is likely that committee members will require training, guidance and support when undertaking scrutiny. One may argue that the skill sets of the Audit and Governance Committee could be better suited to this role. However, the scrutiny function has responsibility at Herefordshire Council to scrutinise the budget, of which the Treasury management strategy, policy and practices are contained. With further training and a greater push to utilise experts within scrutiny task and finish or spotlight activity, it is recommended that the wider role in reviewing and monitoring Treasury management fall within the remit of the Scrutiny Management Board. This is reflected in paragraph 9 of the report and recommendation A. Lastly, there are some routine statutory changes that have been recommended in paragraph 10 and are also reflected in recommendation A. I believe this to be a relatively straightforward report, and I would ask that you support the outlined recommendations.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Now, we need a seconder. I seek a seconder. Councillor Shaw, you have 3 minutes. 6, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, colleagues. I'd like to take this opportunity to express again the thanks of all members to Councillor Balderson and the Working Party, and to officers both present and those who have left the Council to further their careers in delivering this update to our Constitution and the final part of the constitutional update undertaken at the moment. There will no doubt be, as ever, further tweaking of the Constitution required as we begin to experience the relationship between the new scrutiny committees. The new approach requires all councillors, I think, to embrace and adopt to a more rigorous approach to scrutiny, and I hope that we are all able and willing to rise to that challenge. To that end, as Councillor Balderson alluded, additional training is being provided, both for chairs and for committee members. I know training can be difficult to fit in with other appointments, but I urge everyone to make the effort to attend this wherever possible, so that we can enable ourselves to be more effective. I commend the recommendations for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. We now move to the debate. Members are entitled... sorry, I'll just start again. If there are amendments, they'll be taken in the order they are proposed, just to start. We now move to the debate. Members are entitled to speak once during the debate for 3 minutes, and the Vice Chairperson will be keeping a list of members who wish to speak during the debate. Please can members indicate to the Vice Chairperson if they intend to speak, and remember they have 3 minutes each. Do we have any speakers?
Not currently at the moment, Chairman.
Well, we shall then carry on, I think, to the vote. We move to the vote, and I will call the vote, and members are asked to clearly raise their hands, or one hand, to indicate if they are for, against, or abstain for the recommendations. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That is a complete vote for. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Councillor Balderson, for you and your committee's hard work. Come now to item 10, Councillors' Allowances Scheme, which is published as a supplement on the 17th of May. To approve and update the Herefordshire Councillors' Allowances Scheme, having regard to the recommendations of the Council's Independent Remuneration Panel. Members will find the report concerning the Council's allowance scheme in the supplement published on the 17th of May. Please note the correction supplement published on the 19th of May and the amendment supplement published this morning. I intend conducting the vote for the recommendations en bloc, but if necessary, I will take some or all individually before voting on the substantive motion. I now call upon the Solicitor to the Council to outline the dispensation granted in respect of Schedule 1 interests and the circumstances when a specific interest should be declared. Councillor. Not Councillor. I've demoted you. Terrible.
Promoted me.
No, I don't know about that. But
Thank-
will you?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Members have a pecuniary interest in this item as basic allowances are required to be paid to all members. Members nominated to posts attracting an SRA have a further pecuniary interest. I, having received a written request on behalf of all members affected by the preceding paragraph, have granted a dispensation to all members. Thank you.
Thank you. I will propose the recommendations in the report. And can I please have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor. As a seconder, do you wish to speak now or after the debate?
I won't speak.
Thank you. If there are any amendments, they'll be taken in the order they are proposed. And we now move to the debate. Members are entitled to speak once during the debate for 3 minutes. The Vice Chairperson will be keeping a list of members who wish to speak during the debate. Please can members indicate to the Vice Chairperson if they intend to speak. There has been an amendment proposed by Councillor Hitchener circulated today. Councillor Hitchener, please introduce your proposed amendment and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Do I have a number? No, number one is Councillor Balderson over there. So I'll talk a little bit now.
Talk loudly towards the chief executives. You have one down there.
So this amendment will bring forward the change of the allowance for the deputy leader by 1 year. If the principal has agreed that the deputy leader should have an allowance, then I see no reason why it shouldn't take place earlier rather than waiting for a year. The amendment is entirely cost neutral, so whereas last year we were looking at amendments which were going to be deferred because we felt there's some concern about the increase in cost, this is totally cost neutral. So to be honest, I can't see any reason why this shouldn't be introduced now, but I'd be interested to hear of any views on that. But my proposal is that the A Roman 2 would read, introduce a new special responsibility allowance for the role of deputy leader on a cost-neutral basis of 2.25 times the basic allowance, and the leader allowance be reduced to 3.5 times the basic allowance with immediate effect. And the rest of that clause is then deleted because it'll happen now.
Right. Councillor Hardwick, will you be seconder to this?
I will.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak now or at the end of the debate? Thank you, Councillor. And now, the debate itself. Councillor James. Number 8.
It's not, I shall vote for the end, but just to note something I'm a little concerned about, the fact that we've moved gradually from a reduced, relatively, members' allowance, the basic allowance, to so many so many special responsibility allowances that I think we're probably the highest percentage of councillors who receive, and I declare that I myself receive a special responsibility allowance. There was a rule, there was a law that you could only give special responsibility allowances to a set proportion of the council, which was under 50%. And I do believe now we're well in excess of 50%. I'm not sure when that rule or law changed, but it was up until not many councils ago, that was the position. And, you know, the work that goes on within the wards of most councillors is quite onerous. And I do think, you know, my neighbouring councillor across has just been elected across the boundary in Wales to myself, and I'm sure the same is a number of other members who've got neighbouring councillors like that, actually has to represent half the number of constituents that we have to represent, and that is throughout Powys, but receives double the basic allowance. But what they have is far less special responsibility, proportion of special responsibility allowances. So I merely make that point. I shall vote for it because, you know, we've got to go forward. But I do think that in the medium to long term, that ought to be looked at.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm informed by the solicitor that we are within legal limits and that Wales has a slightly different system. But your point is well made. Thank you. Councillor Chowns, number 16.
I'd just like to have a clarification to the record, because Councillor James alleged that more than half of members have a special responsibility allowance, and I make it 8 in total. This proposal makes no difference because the Deputy Leader already gets a special responsibility allowance as a Cabinet member. So there are 8 Cabinet members, and there are, I believe, 7 chairs of committees, including now 4 scrutiny, whereas it was 3 previously. That's 15, it's a total of 28%.
Mr. Coleman, would you like to confirm that, please?
Urge members to look at the appendix where the benchmarking data is provided. What you'll see there is every other local authority has similar posts to ours, so we are in keeping with those local authorities.
Thank you. Councillor Marsh, did you wish to speak? Number?
21.
Number 21, please.
I did just want to say that I do agree with Councillor James about the importance of a better members' allowance, and I'm glad that we are putting our members' allowance up finally next year. And I just wanted to check, I assume that inflation increments will be added to that. I just feel that it is an important question, and I'd just like a public update on that.
I believe inflation will be included in that in our updates. And it will be 9 years since you've had a proper increase in your allowances. Well overdue, I have to say. So any more speakers, please?
No, Chairman, no further speakers.
Right. Well, moving to the vote on the amendment, please can members clearly raise their hand to indicate all in favour? Against? 1. Abstentions? 1, 2, 3. I don't think you should be voting, should you?
Yes, yes.
So you're abstaining. That's fine. Yes, that's fine. Yes. Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, that's absolutely A1.
That's carried on majority.
It's carried by a big majority. Moving to the vote on the original substantive motion, please can members clearly raise their hand to indicate all in favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? That is carried over without contradiction. Right. Yep. Item 11, Code of Conduct, pages 43 to 130. To approve a revised Code of Conduct on the recommendation of the Audit and Governance Committee. Please find the report from page 43 in the agenda pack. Councillor Shaw, as Chairperson of the Audit and Governance Committee, will you move and introduce the report?
I will, Chair.
5 minutes if you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what's your panel number?
Number 6.
Number 6, please. Will you speak now? Or?
Yep, I'll speak now. Members should be aware that a new model code of conduct has been prepared by the Local Government Association, the LGA, with the intention that all councils in England adopt this model, with local amendments as necessary. This follows national survey in which the Audit and Governance Committee responded in July 2020. We are required by the Localism Act 2011, section 27(2), to adopt a code of conduct. It is open to Herefordshire's parish and town councils to adopt this code. Many had previously adopted our previous code, and some have adopted the LGA code. I note paragraph 7 of the report, which refers to the government's current consideration of recommendations made by the Committee on Standards in Public Life, the CSBL. If these recommendations are implemented, there could be a further change to the LGA model code in the future. Their recommendations are as laid out in paragraph 8 and include the introduction of sanctions and an appeals process through the local government ombudsman. Following a consultation with ward and parish councillors, sanctioned by the Audit and Governance Committee in January this year, some modifications to the LGA code are recommended, and the differences between the codes are as set out in Appendix 4 of the report. Our model code is as specified in Appendix 3. Minor amendments were also made to dealing with code of conduct complaints, and these are as described in paragraph 18. And Appendix 2 provides the methodology of dealing with code of conduct complaints. I would recommend on behalf of the Audit and Governance Committee that recommendations A and B, as stated on page 43 of your papers, are adopted to take effect on today's date. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Balderson, I believe you wish to second this, and as Vice Chairman of the Audit and Governance Committee, you are very well placed for that. Do you wish to speak now or after the debate?
I'm quite happy to speak now.
Thank you.
Councillor Shaw.
3 minutes, by the way.
I won't need 3 minutes, I don't believe, Chairman. There's been considerable opportunity, I believe, for consultation, and Appendix 4, which Councillor Shaw referred to on page 129 of your pack, provides a good summary of the principal differences between the Council's Code of Conduct, the LGA Model Code and Code of Conduct, and the new Model Code. The Audit and Governance Committee is unanimously supporting the recommendations, and I would encourage you to do the same.
Thank you. Do we have some speakers?
Councillor Davis, number 15, next speaker.
Councillor Davis,
Thank
off you go.
Thank you. It's just a query really for Claire Porter. I'm looking through the Code of Conduct and specifically about the registrable interest, etc. I just wonder whether this has been checked from an equalities perspective. There is some language that I don't think applies now, such as his and her. Could we agree to take that away and change to there?
Yes, absolutely, Chairman. We will look at that, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Councillor Harvey, number 15.
Councillor Harvey.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank the Chair of Audit and Governance and the committee members for making the amendments to both the Code of Conduct and to the guidance on the handling of complaints that are proposed here. They are small, but they are really important. the amendment to enable us as a local authority to continue to require interests to be declared for membership of organisations which are not normally open to the public without formal membership is a really important addition to our code of conduct. And I wish more local authorities would follow our lead on that. It really is important that members of the public feel that there is openness and transparency with their elected representatives as regards their interests. And I think that enables us to act in our role as councillors without fear of there being any concerns that we may be acting in anything other than the best interests of the people that we serve. As far as the changes that are made to the way in which complaints are handled, I do actually get a name check in the Local Government Association documentation on this because of the way complaints were mishandled against me. I actually had to go to a judicial review in the High Court in order to make sure that the law was clarified and that case law was created to ensure that all councillors were protected from having sanctions applied to them by any other body than the recommendations made by the senior authority handling the complaints process. That is the reason why the text is being proposed to be changed as set out in paragraph 18, section 2, because it is worryingly creating some potential for the case law that was created and the clarification made and therefore the protection of all councillors in England to be eroded by the way in which the LGA wording has been put forward. I do hope that the LGA actually reconsiders this, and I have asked solicitors to look into it. As far as the addendum regarding the number of the minimum number of independent persons,
can you finish your sentence, please?
The reason this is important is so that there's an independent person available to advise a subject member, a member who is subject of a complaint, as well as having an independent person reserved to advise the monitoring officer. It is only fair and right that any councillor who has a complaint raised against them has somebody independent to support and advise them through the process.
Thank you. You've had your 3 minutes and plus. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any more speakers, please?
No further speakers, Chairman.
All right. And we now move to the debate, to the vote. I will call the vote, and members are asked to clearly raise their hand to indicate if they are for, against, or abstain for the recommendations. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? No, thank you. That is carried without contradiction. Nem con. And again, thanks to the Audit and Governance Committee for all their hard work on our behalf. Item 12, revised salary for Director of Governance and Law, pages 131 to 136. To agree an increased salary package for the Director of Governance and Law post as recommended by the Chairperson of the Employment Panel. Please find the report from page 131 in the agenda pack, and for the sake of clarity, this item does not cause any conflict for the current Interim Director of Governance and Law. The decision to be made today will be taken by this Council, and only Council members may speak and vote on it. The Interim Director is present to advise on procedural governance of this meeting and will remain in the room for this item and continue with her duties. Thank you. The Leader, as the Chairperson of the Employment Panel, will move and introduce the report. 5 minutes, Leader.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors will have seen the papers. It's quite clear from those that an attempt was made to recruit a new Director of Governance and Law. The agency were appointed. They targeted over 75 candidates, were unable to find a suitable candidate, and the feedback was that we are not paying sufficient money to attract the right kind of person. So I'm not sure there is any alternative other than to go with this recommendation. If we go out to advertise again at the existing pay, we may end up with again a failed recruitment. For many, yes, 90,000. Well, the recommendation of 108,472 is a high salary, particularly in Herefordshire. That is certainly the case, but unfortunately, the market is such that that sort of pay is needed in order for us to recruit and retain someone of sufficient calibre. There are market forces at play which we have no control over. And our wish is to go ahead with this process as quickly as we possibly can, because employing interims is an expensive exercise with the agency fees that are paid. I'm sorry, Claire, but we want to replace you as quickly as possible. But I do commend this recommendation to you so that Tracy can do her wonderful act of recruiting someone who will be supporting us and helping us going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. And the report now needs to be seconded. Councillor Chance, thank you. As Vice Chairperson of the Employment Panel, you will second the report. Do you wish to speak now or after the debate? You have 3 minutes.
I don't think I need to speak.
Right, thank you.
I'll speak after the debate if it's necessary.
I'll take that. We now move to the debate. Members are entitled to speak once during the debate and for 3 minutes only. The Vice Chairperson will be keeping a list of members who wish to speak during the debate. Please can members indicate to the Vice Chairperson if they intend to speak. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, Chairman. Councillor Shaw is first. Number 6.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Shaw?
Thank you. I just wanted to, the paper raises a question in my mind, and I just wanted to clarify it. I haven't sat here, I don't think, before and voted, or I've been asked to vote on the salary of a senior officer of the council, and I'm just curious as to which officers the council in itself has to vote upon salary increases for, because I'm not aware of it. Might be by overlooking something, but there is that. And there's also a reflection, perhaps, on the previous post holder, and perhaps that we could be on the front foot in terms of reviewing salaries of our senior staff and all our staff, if the differential between what the market rate really is and what we pay really is this great. We are likely to lose other staff in the future if these differentials are out there in the market. So I think there's a piece of work to be done by HR in terms of not just looking at staff salaries when they leave, but keeping a watching eye on what the market is doing so that we don't lose our staff because of market rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I now ask the Secretary, the Solicitor to the Council, to give her opinions, please.
Yes, Council has to approve any salary that's over £100,000. Council has to approve that. And you do annually agree the pay policy. So in that pay policy, there will be an indication in there of all salaries that are over 100,000.
Thank you. Councillor James and Councillor Rowan. Number 8.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say, I'm sorry I missed the employment panel, and that's not because I wanted to criticise what the decision was. My point would have been, if I'd been there, the question mark that the difficulty it's still going to be to get a suitable candidate to apply. When one bears in mind the market for solicitors and lawyers is so under-supplied, and that the average salary for a newly qualified solicitor in the country is 110,000, you can actually see the difficulty that it might arrive.
Yes,
I'd love to know where Councillor James obtains that particular fact from. I know that may be the case in central London, but throughout the country, in local authorities, there are lawyers who are working on children's cases and this kind of thing who are probably paid £30,000 or £40,000, and so suggest that people are involved with human rights and those things are being paid an extraordinary amount of money. I'm afraid, Councillor James, you are, well, I'm not quite sure what I'm allowed to say, but I think you're wrong.
Well, can I say we have to go by the national average salary, and of course London is included in that. And bear in mind, we're talking about the senior legal position within the council.
Thank you. Do you want to make any comment on that? No, right. Councillor Guthrie? Be quiet, please.
Next speaker is Councillor Roan, number 5.
Councillor Roan.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Touching on what Councillor Shaw said, it got my mind racing, and I wondered if we'd have offered the previous monitoring officer a pay increase of 22%, she would have still been in post, and that would have been an awful lot lighter workload for Tracy Sampson and probably the tens of thousands of pounds going out to recruit in the publications it was in. It was just something that was in my mind, so I like to share it with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Executive.
Yeah, if I may just respond to those last 2 points with regarding the role itself and the review of salaries. You'll see in the report in section 8 that, you know, following the recent review, we've broadened and deepened the scope and the role and range of responsibilities of the particular post. And quite rightly, that means we should review and evaluate the remuneration that's due for that. And you'll also see that in paragraph 8, we do propose to undertake a review of salaries across the leadership team and our heads of service. So we do remain competitive, and as part of our wider recruitment and retention strategy, that we place the council in a strong position by attracting the very best quality of candidates that we can. So I think I'm grateful for your observation. I think we can take account of those in our thinking as we go forward and attract the very best candidates we can for the role.
Thank you, Chief Executive.
Next speaker,
yes?
Councillor Marsh, number 21. You didn't?
I'm not going to speak.
Okay. Councillor Davis, number 15.
Councillor Davis.
Yes, thanks for that, Chair. Yeah, I was just Googling, I'm sure as everybody else was, the average starting salary for a solicitor, which is 37k. But one of the things that I just wanted us to focus on, because lots of members of the public will be watching this and saying, how on earth are you paying this much money? Do we just need to keep on increasing money and then we'll get people? No, it's not that easy. I think for us to look raw at the amount of money that we pay officers as a reason for them staying is naive. Actually, the reason why people stay for an organisation is that they feel well supported, that they're trained, and that we give them the respect that they need. And I think that those kind of extra issues are the things that certainly the new Chief Exec has been working hard to get to. So I would hope that it's not just controlled by salaries, but how we treat those members of staff.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
No further speakers, Chairman.
Councillor Chance, did you wish to? No. Then no further speakers. A monitoring officer, can you advise if any amendments have been received? No amendments received? Thank you. We now move to the vote. I will call the vote, and members are asked to clearly raise their hand to indicate if they are for, against, or abstain for the recommendations. All in favour? Against? Abstentions? A NEMCON vote again. Thank you. Item 13, date of the next meeting. The date of the next meeting is the 29th of July at 10 a.m. And I thank all councillors and staff officers for their attendance at today's meeting, and thank you for your shall we say, your indulgence at the beginning of the meeting with our problems with IT. And can I confirm that the live stream has been stopped? Has it been stopped? It has been.